yeah, you really can make the life you wanna make, just with hard work and mentality, and setting your mind to it and just going after it.
What's going on? You're listening to episode 70 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell, the Perspective Collective. This show is about carving out time to build something for yourself and about being open to seeing things from a different perspective. I want to share what is and isn't working for me, along with sharing my guest point of view. And really super quick, there are still a few spots left for my crop conference workshop. And in order to join, you have to make sure you purchase the Red Friday ticket, which is $35 more. That's it. And this will get you into the whole day's workshop, plus my workshop over lunch where food will be provided. Don't miss out on this, and don't miss out on crop in general, because Matt Dawson, aka Stay Gray Pony Boy, throws a killer party, and he brings in some of the biggest creatives in the creative industry who drop massive waves of value. So get your ticket at cropbr.com. So listen up. If you're a sucker for branding, typography, and you want a little guidance in slaying great work for great clients, then buckle your seatbelts, because Austin Dunbar of Durham Brand & Co. joins us today. Austin has a gritty yet delicately crafted style, and his typography, compositions, and texture game is on another planet. Let's just say he's not human, but he works for brands us humans recognize, like Hershey's, Adobe, Michelob, Pop-Tarts, and a few thou shall not be named, but trust me, they're heavy hitters. In this fast-paced episode, we peel the layers back on building relationships that lead to more work, pitching, pricing, and delivering the goods, trimming the fat and focusing on what's most important, setting large goals with confidence, and having a good-ass time while doing your thing. Stick around to the end of this episode, because Austin has some killer merch, and he's going to give you a nice little coupon code to use in his shop. You can find the show notes to this episode at perspective-collective.com/70, along with just a smorgasbord of all of Austin's amazing, awesome work. And if you think someone can find value in this episode, please give it a share on social media like Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Share it with a friend. It's because of your word of mouth that the show keeps growing, and I love you for doing it. Finally, if you catch some inspiration from the show, create some artwork and tag me on Instagram. I'll give it a share where I post each week's episode artwork at Perspective Podcast on Instagram. Let's get into the show. Today I'm chopping it up with Austin Dunbar of Durham Brand & Co. in Covington, Kentucky. And him and I, we had a chance to connect at Creative Works Conference last October, and he was a last-minute fill-in talk. And funny story, he stepped on the stage, fucking crushed it, and at the same time, his laptop died, and he still champed it through. But Austin, thanks so much for joining me. What's going on, dude? How you been?
Thanks, my man. Thanks so much. I'm good. How about you?
I'm awesome. Just avoiding snow and being safe and staying off the roads with the jerks.
Yeah, it was up until just now. It was a snow globe outside, so it was pretty. It was like pretty snow. You know what I'm saying?
How far is your home away from your studio?
4 blocks.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to drive around it. That's super convenient.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't. You know what I mean? Because you have like a 4-block detox walk from, like, if you're walking out of like a hell session from a meeting, or there's still work you got to do. You know what I mean? You only have 4 blocks to like change your attitude before you walk into a house of kids. You know what I'm saying?
Just hit the block twice.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. Which, speaking of, my man, super congrats, dude. You're going to have a kid?
I'm having a kid, man. Yes. We're in the future, so it's been out for a little bit. But yeah, we have a little pizza roll in the oven due August.
There you go. Do you know, are you guys going to figure out like the sex and stuff?
Hell yeah. I'm a plan ahead kind of person.
Yeah, I can't get down with the guys who are like, no, I'm just going to walk into the hospital and just be surprised. I'm like, no. There's too much stuff you got to do before then, man.
I got to know if I need to teach him how to shoot a basketball or throw a football by the age of 2. You know, I got to plan this stuff.
There you go.
And force a pencil or a crayon. Let's say a crayon, because no stabbing. But
there you go.
Anyway, this isn't about me. If we can give the listeners, for people who don't know who you are, can you give a brief Wikipedia page summary about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Austin Dunbar. I'm a full-time dad, a part-time designer. No, I'm joking. I own a design studio in Covington, Kentucky. Like you said, it's called Durham Branding Company, and it primarily focuses on branding, logo design, packaging, some web dev kind of stuff that we were just talking about, for beer, spirits, lifestyle, vice-style, restaurants, bars, luxury condominiums. Really is all over the place in terms of the work and the scope of work that I do in the studio. It's a one-man band. I probably should say that off the rip.
I know how it is, man.
People think it's a team of 20 or a team of 10 or whatever, just based off their emails and stuff. But yeah, man, it's just me for the good and the bad.
Yeah, well, what's been the crooked path that led you to starting Durham Branding? And where's Durham even come from? I've been meaning to ask you that.
Durham's actually my middle name, so Austin Durham Dunbar, and so I knew that when I wanted to start a studio, I didn't want to go by my name, because I wanted to be able to kind of hide behind a studio name or like an agency name, I guess.
Dude, yes.
Because I didn't want clients that I was working with to know it was just one dude, because then I didn't think I'd be able to get the work, or I wouldn't be able to charge what I was charging, or all of those kinds of things. And so I maybe cart before the horse. But what happened was, the kind of quick story, spent a lot of time working in a bunch of agencies, big like global packaging agencies like Landor and LPK. Worked for a smaller design studio called Powerhouse Factories that I'm super good buds with. That's always on the grams and always storing with those dudes. Did rock posters and did big, huge strategy work for Procter & Gamble, things like that. Went and worked at Soulsite in Chicago, which is when I started beer for Miller Coors. This is the end of 2011. And honestly, dude, like I always wanted to have a studio. I just never knew when I was going to have one. You know what I mean? And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was always doing work in studios that the studio was attracted to. I think clients were attracted to. I was doing a lot of talking with clients as well. And at the October of 2013, I ended up quitting a big global agency and just started doing kind of freelance, and did that for 6 months before I kind of went legal, as I call it, and LLC to studio name. So that's like the fast forward version of how I started the studio. So yeah, so the studio's been around since beginning of 2014.
Okay, that's like the same time I started Perspective Collective. So how did you put out work to attract people, or did you have maintained relationships from previous jobs, or did you land new work from putting out personal projects? It's
a mixed bag of both. So I had relationships just kind of traveling around and designing. I probably should have mentioned when we were in Chicago, my wife and I decided we wanted a bunch more kids, and you don't have a bunch more kids in Chicago. It's like rule number one.
You got how many? 2 or 3?
Three girls, dude. My wife's originally from Northern Kentucky. I'm not from Northern Kentucky. I spent actually most of my life in Japan, overseas.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I remember that.
But I came to school in Northern Kentucky, this, that, and the other. So it was kind of like home, I guess. And she moved back, and I traveled back and forth for a year, riding a megabus going to work in Chicago, which is 5.5 hours away. And so I did that for a year, and I had a lot of time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And that's when the seed was kind of planted to open a studio. And yeah, so that was 2012, 2013.
How did you get into like the conference scene of things? Because like I said, I discovered you at Creative Works, and you've been doing merch and all that stuff since. So where did the merch side come in?
So Durham Branding Company, the longest damn name for anything.
Try Perspective Collective.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a bunch of mouthfuls, what it is. But the whole idea was I wanted to have like either a branding agency and a clothing company, or like a clothing brand and a design company. So I'm not dyslexic, because sometimes when I'm talking quick, I'm just flipping stuff in my mouth and it comes out both ways the same kind of thing. And the clothing stuff was really just a way to put work on Instagram, straight up. Because I was doing, when I was first starting out, and I realized I didn't really even answer your damn question. When I was first starting out, I was doing work for people that I had relationships with, and that was for other agencies. You know what I mean? So I was a freelancer, and I was kind of getting paid as a hired gun to fill a seat in a chair that wasn't filled at that agency. And to me, that was just kind of, I felt like I was in purgatory. I know it's a weird way of having that analogy, but I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? I was just like stuck in the middle, and I was this really good go-to, pick up the phone, hey, can you do this tonight and give me a bunch of work by tomorrow for X amount of dollars kind of guy.
Almost like production.
Almost like production, dude. And when you have 12 of these at once and you're a freelancer and the budgets aren't yours to make or break, nor is the timeline, it's like you have 12 girlfriends at one time and they all know you're dating other girls, but they're like, we need you to date me now and I need this right now kind of thing.
Man, that was like my life in kindergarten, dude.
Just, yeah, dude, you're just dating chicks all day long?
Yeah, it was rough.
Hands?
It was rough, man.
Yeah. So, and so with that and starting the business, you know, I found myself doing work for the studio that was big time work in terms of, I guess, like the bank account, maybe, like to me at the time it was kind of thing, but it wasn't like face value cool work, right? It's not something you're going to throw up on Instagram, so to speak, and it's going to be a double tap party. And this was, man, like 2013, 2014, Instagram was just kind of coming around the bend and people getting on it and stuff. So I'd see dudes like John Contino just smash all these other guys. And it's like, man, I want to start doing that. That's the cool work, you know, perceived cool work kind of thing. And I was like, I'm just going to rip stuff in between client work, or I'll rip stuff when I don't have client work.
Like personal work, you mean? Yeah.
Sorry, like personal work. And coming from the gig poster world, doing gig posters and art prints, it's hard to move paper nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it's 2004 where you could print a gig poster and print 500 of them. They're all going to sell. And T-shirts were kind of my posters, so to speak. And I wanted to be able to make stuff and kind of sell it or just give it away. Because I don't, you know, I say just give it to someone and have a conversation with them if they're real into what I'm doing versus, you know, make $20 off a quick sell kind of thing. And it was a way for me to kind of make the work, to attract the work that I wanted to do.
Lead it into my next kind of question, so that's exactly where I'm going. So you just pursuing your side project, the work that kind of gets you most jazz, has that landed you a lot of your clients now?
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because what happened was people thought that the design studio was a clothing store. Excuse me, I'm going too fast. They thought the Durham branding company was a t-shirt company. Mm-hmm. But then clients would see, you know, oh, it's actually a design studio. And I was, at first I was kind of pissed about that because they would just see like some cool shirt and they wouldn't know anything. And I wanted those shirts to be a way to bring me design work. The work that the studio was getting done got picked up in Vogue, which was crazy. And all of these other like fashion blogs, and I was getting all these interviews and stuff from like fashion people and going to colleges and talking to fashion students. And I'm like, I'm printing shit on Bella Canvas. You know, I'm not
Anvil.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. People didn't necessarily know what the studio was. They just liked what was on the shirt. I ended up opening a retail shop because of that. And I had kind of a big lull in design work. And I was at the point, this is 2015. So I guess I was on my own paycheck, so to speak, since 2012, 13, I guess. And I wanted to walk away from the computer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any hobbies. Like, I'm a dad and I'm a husband and that's my life's work. I love that stuff. But I don't go home and like play guitar anymore. I don't go home and skateboard, or, you know, I don't have any of these other existential hobbies that keep me kind of creatively jazzed. Other than design work, which is not a good thing to have. So,
no other outlets, huh?
Yeah, it's not a good character trait, but I love it because I'm an all-in dude. You know what I mean? And I think the problem with growing up in Japan, they have a mastering mentality, and you only master one thing. You don't play basketball and skateboard and do karate. You just kick ass at karate for the rest of your life.
True master of one mentality.
Master of one mentality, you know, and I kind of appreciate that, I think, lifestyle aesthetic and kind of going all in. And I walked away from the computer and I spent 4 or 5 months building out a retail shop on the first floor of the design studio. And it was a way for me to be creative, but it was a way for me to literally use my hands to build something versus kind of right clicking my way and Command S-ing my way into making something.
And you had that you had to close that part down, right?
Yeah, I closed it down. And the reason I closed it down is because, dude, straight up, I'm not a good boss. And I just got spread way too thin.
Did you have to hire other people, or was it still yourself?
I hired some people to work in the retail shop, which were buddies of mine and who I love. Like, they're awesome people. But I'm not good at managing expectation, and I'm not good at vocalizing orders. and saying, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, and then holding them accountable. So what I do on the other side of that coin is in my head, I told you what to do, and then reality is I didn't tell you a damn thing, and so nothing gets done. And for me, it turned into a place where I wanted to have. It turned into exactly what I wanted it to do, which is, I think, hindsight was the wrong intention. Like, I wanted to have a place and take the studio from the second floor and put it on the first floor and have like this kind of stuff, right? We're talking shop, we're hanging out. Like, I want to know how your wife's doing. Like, if I know your family, I want to know how your family's doing. But that 5-minute hangout session is a 2-hour conversation. And then I'd come back upstairs and I'm like, what the hell have I done today? I still have client work to do. And so it was a place that I loved having, but it was my pet project, not my passion project. And so anytime for me, it was just anytime I'd get frustrated, the first thing that popped in my head when I go to sleep at night to things like trash I had to take out was the shop. But dude, it like I said, it attracted so many people. People came from all over and they loved it. I did it at a time that the city that I'm in, Covington, was kind of rebuilding itself anyways, and was in this renaissance. And I built it in the most busy intersection of the whole town. And there's 3 or 4 stoplights here, so everyone stared at it all day long.
So you're like a mini Benny Gold, huh?
Dude, Benny crushes. I don't know Benny personally, but man, I love
just start up shop,
Yeah, and and I loved it. And we had parties, and we had bands play, and businesses would come to me into that space, wanting to asking me what the city needed. Like, it was that kind of place, but it didn't pay any bills. You know what I mean? The first year, what it grossed versus what it cost was it grossed almost less than half of what it cost to operate.
Damn. So that's some of the hardest things, the shit that's the most fun, but the non-essential, having to trim the fat, like, that's been me over the last, especially this last year. Now with having a kid, it's like, man, I got to get better at saying no to shiny objects, man, because I feel like I can do it all, and I'm learning I can't. It's like I have to be a boss sometime. Not necessarily I don't want to be a boss, but I need help, and I'm trying to find ways to delegate shit because I can't do it all by myself.
Dude, yeah, and you're probably like me, and I'm just straight up just a yes man kind of person.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that for free, and I'll still get that done. And my wife's like, you're not the town mayor, like you don't have to be that person. This is a business. You can tell people no. And so I'm the same, man. And in 2017, when we closed the shop, which was mid 2017, 2018, I was like, I've been saying no to all kinds of stuff, and it feels awesome.
Yeah. It actually is empowering because, I mean, the more you say yes to something, the more you actually say a no to like a hell yes opportunity. I pile my plate here. Well, obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows. What are some of the highs and lows you face with running your own studio, having your own brick and mortar shop that we've just kind of discussed, and then trying to balance family life?
I'll start with the things that are worthwhile. The things that are worthwhile for me is, and it relates to work and I think my kids, is I think I'm showing my kids that you really can do anything. And I know that sounds like completely cliche and just dumb.
Not at all, man. Mindset, dude.
Yeah, you really can make the life you want to make just with hard work and mentality, and setting your mind to it and just going after it. And so I'm super fortunate that like my kids love the studio and they come here. I'm super fortunate for the clients I have, and I'm real thankful for that kind of stuff. And I don't take any of it for granted because I know tomorrow that this whole thing can fold up and I'd have to go get a job. Like, I don't have a job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't come and clock into work.
You play, man.
Yeah, man. Like, I come in here, 6 days out of the week, and I'm super stoked to work on what I'm working on. Now, not every day is a rainbow, of course, but I know what the other side of the coin is. And it's like, I don't want to go get a job. I don't want to clock out at 5 and be like, whew, like I'm gonna go home and find a hobby. Like, I love being, kind of saturated in this all day, every day, which is cool. So I'm super thankful for all that. The stuff that sucks, dude, and what I think no one in design is prepared for is the business side of design. So it's not all kick-ass Instagrammable double tap party pictures. It is running a damn business. And I wasn't taught how to run a business. I was taught how to kern. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't taught straight up. I wasn't taught how to file for your taxes properly. I wasn't taught what is the difference between a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S corp? How do you move money? Like just how to run a business.
So what was some of the resources that help you learn that? Because a lot of people don't think about taking off the creative hat and having to put on the business hat. How did you learn?
Probably the most expensive way, just money out of my back pocket, to be quite honest. Finding the right lawyers and finding the right CPAs and having wise counsel, friends around me that own their own businesses too, that were maybe creative, maybe not creative, because I'm actually more attracted to people who aren't in the creative industry running the business for 20 years versus, some hotshot designer who's, just taking all the money to his name. That's not even an S corp and doesn't know anything about longevity and how to run this thing. So I like that kind of stuff. Really, man, I think it's for design. And for me, I wanted the studio to be as legit as the studios I was working for.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what it broke down to. And I knew how they were set up. And I was like, I want to be set up the same way because I want to attract the same clients. And I did. And I have tons of buddies who are like doing the most kick-ass work in their bedroom. And I love them for it. But I wanted a place to kind of call home, separate from home, and I got 3 little girls. I can't be working. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now, my dude, if I was at the house.
Do you have a hard time unplugging when you leave for the day and going home, or is that just
Absolutely. Yeah, man, for sure. I used to be real bad, real bad. Like Ashley would look at me and she would be talking to me and she would say, "You're not even acknowledging what I'm talking about."
Oh my God, that sounds like my life.
I'm thinking about kerning. That's all I think about, dude. But I'm thinking about work, or I'm thinking about that project, or that estimate, or that meeting coming up. Those kinds of things. So I'm learning how to separate life from work a little bit more, because the stuff at home is more important than the stuff in the studio walls. But it's all kind of the same thing, so to speak.
I feel you, man. Something that I really, really enjoyed, and I actually bought a print from you, and I got it hanging up here, is you have your own personal creed you work by, and we've kind of like touched some of them, you being thankful and stuff. And, I think personal creeds keep us focused. I want to hear how you cemented your 7 rules in the Durham Brand & Co. rule book. Because honestly, I've kept a note. Anything that I continually say to my audience or something I put myself up with, I've been writing a little list because I want to do something similar. I thought it was awesome.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. I put that list together 2 years ago for a Creative Mornings talk. And what the talk that I was given was on risk. And it was actually, I think, my first talk. I talked to schools and stuff. My first talk in terms of in front of people that maybe knew me, maybe didn't know me, kind of thing. And I was real. It was interesting. It was fun. I enjoyed doing it. But you're talking about risk. You know what I mean? That's a hard thing to talk about. And so I ended the talk with those rules. And I was at that point kind of self-reflecting a little bit. And what do I want the studio to be known for? And why do I go to work? So I wrote those out. And most of them came from me. One of them came from a buddy of mine in New York. He told me when I opened the shop, don't stop working when the work stops. He was like, that's what you do, Austin.
Number 6.
Yeah, you don't stop working when the work stops. But some of those things I felt really, really passionately about.
I'd love if we could fly through them. Number 1 is be thankful.
For sure. Yeah, that's a given. I think I just said that.
Yep.
We have the most kick-ass job on earth. We could be doing grunt work or stacking boxes in a grocery store. We get to make pretty pictures for a living.
Number 2, cool doesn't pay the bills. Clients do. Double tap parties.
Yeah, double tap parties. That came from, I had some people come in and they said, why do you get all the cool work? And I asked them what the cool work was. And they listed 8 fucking projects that made me $0. And they were like, how do you, and then I'd show them one project that made whatever dollars. And I'm like, I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the glory. I'm in it for the work, and I want the work to speak for itself. And, the clients pay my bills. Cool doesn't pay shit.
Number 4, I like this pace right now. Nothing is given, everything is earned. And this one vibes to me that I try to preach.
Yeah, I am a big believer in the universe kind of gives you what you put into the universe. You know what I mean? Just being a good person and working hard and earning it. The studio isn't a handout, isn't a check from Daddy Warbucks. It's all earned work,
Grind.
earned relationship. So I take that with the heart.
All right. Number 5, your ego is your enemy.
It's self-explanatory. Yeah, I've been turned off by people that I kind of had, design love for, and I meet them and I'm like, dude, we're not curing cancer. You know what I mean? Like, be chill, be a human. Like, you're not elevated. And I think the second your ego gets in front of your work, the work's going to suffer and people are going to be talking about you.
Love it. Yeah, especially some of these conferences. You meet some of the great people such as yourself and everybody else I meet, but other times, man, you brush shoulders with some people who think their shit doesn't stink. And it's like, damn, you kind of just ruined my whole...
You ruined it.
My perception of you. I thought you were like this god for a little bit. Well, I don't put someone on that kind of a pedestal, but still. All right, number 6. You briefly touched on this. Don't stop working when the work stops, if you can hit home a little bit.
Yeah, don't stop working when the work stops, And I think it kind of dovetails into... cool doesn't pay the bills, clients do. Like, just make the work that you want to make and put the work out that you want to attract, because law of attraction is real.
Dude, thank you.
If tomorrow I woke up and you're like, you know what? I want to write words and procreate like Scotty and just rip it. I'm going to start writing words like Scotty and just ripping it. And because eventually I'll start getting that kind of work. I think it's just putting in the work and the work will eventually come to you.
On a tangent, this is what I'm guilty of, as I'm big into the law of attraction. I'm big into it, and
sure.
I ask, like, are you big into asking too, and out loud too?
So yeah, I'm not gonna go on a tangent, go crazy, but straight up, I'm a faith-based dude, and when I worked at this big global agency called LPK for 5 months that got me back from Chicago, I had a 40-minute drive to work, and every morning, you praying or just talking, all I would say for 40 minutes is like, God willing, I want to open up a design studio, and you don't have to put God into it or anything else, but just being able to vocalize that stuff. Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. It's just like law of attraction. And when it came time for me to stand up to the plate, I was super thankful for it. And I was like, I just want to sit up here and just hit home runs. I don't want this thing to stop, because it was something I was asking for, and hopefully, was going to attract. So yeah, man, I'm super into that stuff.
Even regardless of law of attraction, just learning how to ask in general, even people for things, like the answer's always no if you never ask. So definitely vibe to that one. All right, continuing back on track. Number 7, the last one. Sow something worth reaping.
Did we miss one?
No, number 6 was don't stop when the work stops.
Did we do action cost something?
Oh, that's number 3. Hold on. Let's get number 7 and we'll backtrack to number 3. So yeah. Something worth reaping. Damn, I totally did miss that.
No, I'm actually going to bring up something funny about that.
It shows you know your rules. Perfect.
Well, because I just got an email about it. Because there's a typo. It's missing an S. Cost, not cost with an S.
Action costs something.
Crushes me. So something worth reaping. So that was the first mantra of the studio. I changed taglines, like I changed logos. And it was something that was spoken over me at a time that I was thinking about opening a design studio. And they basically, this lady who's in India was here in Kentucky, and she kind of just completely wrecked me. And she was like, "What are you working for?" And it was when I was at an agency, and she said, "There's a time to reap." And there's a time to sow, and you need to separate yourself, and you need to sow some seed, because you'll reap at the end of it. And it just crushed me, dude. So yeah, so that was the first mantra of the studio. So something worth reaping, and so I kind of ended it that way.
I can't help but like see a badge concept with like a grim reaper somehow planting seeds.
There you go, dude. Yeah.
I might sketch one up. I don't know.
Dude, do it.
All right, let's backtrack. Number 3, talk is cheap, action costs something.
With an S, yeah. So that's a screen printed error. but action, talk is cheap, action costs something. It doesn't have to be money. It could be movement. So many people are like, hey man, I want to start this or I want to start that. I'm like, do it. Well, but what are we talking about? I don't have the money, or I don't have the space, or I don't have the computer, I don't have the whatever. You got to do something. And you got to put one foot forward to keep walking. You know what I'm saying? And I get a lot of people that I talk to, and it's like, you just got to put in the effort. And I think put in the mind space, throw it out in the universe, whatever you want to say. And you got to do something to get something in return. It's not just going to fall in your lap.
And taking the first step is also hard, but so is persisting. But I'm a big believer in like just doing it and figure it out along the way, and shit happens, you know?
Yep, for sure, man.
What is kind of your process of like client discovery, onboarding, pitching, pricing, and deliverables? Because like the client side of your thing, especially a one-man band, like I think that's so valuable. And I'm kind of asking this one for me, but I know other people are gonna get a lot from it too.
Yeah. So the process of getting work, I do not sell work. I'm not a salesman. I am.
Does it come through your website? I didn't even see. Do you have like a questionnaire or a contact or?
You could scroll all the way down to contact, and sometimes clients will reach out to me that way. But it's all 1,000% of my work is all relational, all of it.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. It doesn't matter if it's a Fortune 100 company or if it's some bakery down the street. It's all relational, or it's someone that I don't know, and they're like, "Hey, you need to work with this guy at this thing," and they'll say Durham Branding Company, and they'll think it's a team of people. And then they'll come in the studio and they're looking around like, where's everyone else at? And I'm like, you're looking at it, you know? And they're like, what? You know? And then we have those kinds of conversations. So for me, the process of getting work is not a client service way of getting work where you're sending emails and trying to sales pitches and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that stuff.
No outreach, man.
No outreach at all. Like, yeah. And that's not a good way to grow a business, but I'm too focused on, like I said, making the work speak for itself, because then it'll come back around. Delivering
and actually like treating people like people.
Yeah, for sure. I maybe said this at Creative Works. I don't know if I did, but I've said this before, that I kind of akin my work and my client work, whether it's something really visual, Instagrammable, kick ass, or something that no one's going to see the light of day. I'm only as good as the last client job I worked on, which is exactly like a restaurant. You're only as good as the last dish you served, because you don't know if it's Saturday at 10 o'clock at night and someone comes in at 9:58 and you're all pissed because they're coming in at closing time. You don't know who you're serving that dish to. It could be some food blogger for the New York Times. You know, when my work goes out there, I don't know who's seeing it. And I want to make sure that work was better than the previous work. And so I can kind of build a catalog of visuals that people can trust and be like, this is good stuff.
Does that not stress you out, trying to hit a home run every time you come up to bat?
Oh, dude, it sucks. But I like wrestling projects. You know what I mean? And I do tons of different projects for tons of different clients, super big international clients and local clients as well. So I like being able to have that kind of mixed bag, because it keeps me fresh.
I just envisioned you literally like wrestling and giving a full Nelson to your laptop.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like a Russian roll or something. But what I do, like, because they won't see this on a podcast, but we were talking earlier, like I internalize stress or whatever, and so I like straight up like fold in like a taco, and I'll sleep like that too. So I now, dude, I'm going like monthly to get massages, because they're like, you are trash, and you're just eating up stress. Yeah, you wear that stress, but yeah, man, it keeps it fun. You know what I mean?
Massages are better than Xanax, so
there you go.
I know that. I know that from experience. Yes.
Yeah.
So then, like pitching and pricing, how do you go about that? Do you do like tiered pricing? Like here's 3 options?
Yeah. Nope. I just give. Pricing is always an interesting conversation. I think people should talk about it more. I think people hide behind pricing, or they don't want to say what they made on projects. Again, it doesn't matter to me because it's not my bank account. But I think designers in particular need to have a good ground rule when it comes to pricing. Because I'll talk to some freelancers that are charging $30 an hour who smash it, and I'll talk to others who are charging $350 an hour. And I'm like,
do you go by hourly rate, or do you go like base cost by hourly rate? Because I'm more value-based pricing.
I do project pricing. So the studio's hourly is $185 to $225. Some people are like, whoa, but in the market that we are in Cincinnati, it's a huge branding town, and that's kind of the going rate for agencies. Again, I'm one-man band, but I'm kind of ran as a studio, and I always present that. And I let the work kind of reflect, I guess, the cost, so to speak. I don't know, but it's always project by project. I don't keep track of time, and I know it's awful, but I hated doing timesheets at the other jobs. And I just know that if I'm to bill, sometimes my projects are 350-hour estimates. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I don't know if I'm going to take 350 hours, but if we have a year-long timeline, I'll make it like a Gantt chart of how, like, when we're going to hit when, this, that, and the other, and then just kind of price accordingly. And I can't price 300, I'm going to use simple math. I can't price 300 hours at $200 an hour. It doesn't work that way because I don't even know what that number is, but it's insane. So I kind of figure out how that's going to work out and how to round those kind of corners. And then I just present the estimate to the client. And usually if we need to come down on cost, then I take out rounds of revisions or I take out rounds of initial concepts. So usually I only present 2 to 3 concepts for everything.
Perfect.
Anything more than that, you're just kind of watering down the soup, and it's too much for people to look at.
And they'll usually pick the worst concept.
Or what they'll do is they'll say, hey, I really like B, but I really like D. Can you Frankenstein those?
Yep, the Frankenstein.
For an E concept, and you're like, we can't do that. And so I've realized being able to present a narrow focus to clients, especially if it's their passion project, if you give them too many choices, it's like going and picking out paint colors at a store. It's overload.
It's like going to the cereal aisle at Walmart and just be like, oh my God, I'm just going to get oatmeal.
Well, I need, oh my God, I'm just going to get oatmeal. Yeah, turn around and grab Pop-Tarts or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you kind of narrow that focus, I think the best work kind of comes out in that when you're presenting to clients. And then deliverables, delivering work, just make sure everything's on time, man. Like I wouldn't have a business if I didn't have things on time.
Do you under promise, over deliver?
Always.
Yes. Okay, that's like the biggest thing I've ever learned in doing freelance or working at the day job corporation, and that gets people on your side big time.
Well, and two, if you're kind of going for the extra mile, and you might not be making money on that extra mile, but when you don't track your numbers, who cares? Like, I just want the work to be kick-ass. I'm going to put in the amount of time I need to put in to make that work shine. But if you show that to them, you're like, hey, listen, by the way, here's this one thing I want to show you. What do you think? It just makes them feel special. And at the end of the day, graphic design is relational.
It is.
So is running a business.
Life is, dude.
Yeah, and so when you stack all that, you just want to be a good steward to the clients that you're working on and the work that you're being able to work on, because in return, they're just going to pass your name around the hat to whoever else is looking at that stuff, And I have work that travels all over the place. But some of my favorite work is right here in the city. I'm staring at it right now across the street. But people always ask, like, who did that work or where this come from, this, that, and the other. And that wouldn't have come if I wasn't a good steward to the work and the clients I was working on.
Another question: when you pitch or you send your concepts, like, do you provide like a nice mocked up PDF, or is it just email, or do you call and walk them through it? What's your process for that?
Depends on where we are in the project. So first round creative share, always share in person if possible. But if I have a client in New York, I may or may not fly. Or if I have a client in California, it just depends on where it is. But always talk through it, and never send. Some people would send like the PDF 10 minutes before the meeting and like, talk to you at 4. You're done. Same thing with estimate. You're done. Because what they're going to do is they're going to go to page 17 or however long your estimates are, and they're going to look at that number, and then they're going to sit there and be like, what's going on here? Or let's sign a contract. You send it when you're on the phone with them, and then so they have no chance to flip through and already have this kind of preconceived notion of what this work's going to look like. I always akin it to buying a car, and just because it's a good way to get clients around. Even in terms of pricing too, like if we're doing a new brand, do you want to drive a Kia or do you want to drive a Cadillac? What do you want to be seen driving in? And there's costs associated, but then there's features and there's decisions that I can make on the PDF side and what I present to you that's going to attract you to whatever you want to do, kind of thing. So yeah, never send that stuff before time.
What if they want you to bring your price down too much? Is there a point where you say no, where you can't keep cutting, things off from a package?
Yeah, usually, honestly, man, I'm trying to think. I don't think that's ever happened. I've done more. This might sound correct. Well, maybe not. I've done a ton of free work. But
Yeah,
it's for pros, and it's for people I love and people that I want to invest in.
me too, man.
I'm not going to pay a designer to design something for me. Ain't happening. I can't afford it. And I do a lot of free work. But anytime that it's paid work, we've chopped down budget and stuff. But usually with that, you're chopping down other things like concepts or rounds of revision or the timeline. So to the client, and it's true, then that needs to be less money. If we're taking less from the pot, then that pot needs to cost a little bit less too. So we've never gotten to a point like where we've had to cut 5 figures off of a project or something like that because I'm just way off mark. There was one time I sent an estimate and they're like, it was way off mark. Like that, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars way off mark. But I read their email wrong.
Have you ever lowballed yourself and went too low and didn't get the job?
I think and didn't get the job.
Yeah.
I'll do a lot of like RFPs. You know what those are? Like proposal.
Yeah.
Like I'll get asked to like RFP. I'm not going to do those anymore because it's a lot of time for you don't know if you're going to get the work or not. I've lowballed work to get cool work, and sometimes I don't get that client. And because pricing's perception with everything.
It is.
What I'm saying? And a lot of times, if I'm wanting to charge $1, I'm going to charge 99 cents. And just because pricing's perception. And especially when you're talking more money and stuff, do you want it to be in the 2 or do you want it to be in the 3? Or do you want it to be in the 1? You want it to be, that kind of stuff. And and I kind of fight with that back and forth. But yeah, man, that's the business side of it. That's the stuff I had to figure out. And I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, how old are you? You're around my age.
I'm 30.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're like the same age. Is there any work that you're just stoked about that you can actually share certain clients? Like I personally know. Excuse you if that was a verbal fart, everyone.
Yeah, that was me exhaling really strangely.
Like I know some of the ones that you probably can't talk about, but what can you talk about?
This is what I'm going to do. I will tell you the clients I'm working on, but I can't tell you what I'm doing.
That's fine.
Old Spice, doing a ton of stuff for them. And they're Procter & Gamble, so they're in Cincinnati. And I love them. They're good people over there. It's a lot of fun. And it's a man brand, and I have a man brand-ish aesthetic. So it's a cool hand-in-glove kind of project. This distillery that I don't think I can name yet by the time this comes out. But this distillery doing work for them for the next 2 years, which is cool. Braxton, which is a beer company, which is around the corner from the studio. They're making national waves. They're starting to. I love those guys. Do a lot of cool work for them. Gosh, man, it's all over the place. I'm like looking behind me to some of the work and seeing if there's anything else that could pop up. And some of this doing a huge. It's like a $30 million luxury condominium building, branding all that, doing the website, doing all the print collateral. Like I said, it's a mixed bag of stuff. So doing that, which is fun.
Any fun personal stuff going on right now before we go into vendor season?
Dude, I have to make a whole shop's worth of stuff for crop. I have nothing.
Shout out to Matty Ice, Crop Conference. Get there in April, everyone.
All the dudes and dudettes are going to be there.
Yes.
I'm so pumped. It's going to just be like a cool hangout party.
It's going to be a huge party and just a lot of good creative shit being thrown around for sure.
But I have to show up with creative shit to throw around because right now, dude, I'm just like dead stock. And I'll get tired of my stuff too. And I'm like, people will want it, but I'll bring it. But, I'll just give it away. Just because I still think in terms of the retail shop and having to think in terms of seasonal.
Seasons, yep.
And I'm like, oh, it's new season. I got to make a bunch of new stuff. So I gotta do that. I'm coming out with a magazine, which is a little weird and fun.
Coming Lincoln style?
Lincoln style. They did a newspaper and mine's a magazine. But mine has a little bit more
like a zine or a magazine.
It's like a 150-page magazine.
Okay, that's not a zine. Okay. Yes.
And I'm trying to. We've actually had to boot it twice. But by the time that this comes out, I think will be confirmed. But I'm trying to have one of my best dudes, Zach Pettit, who up until just recently was the editor-in-chief of Print Magazine, to edit the magazine.
Dope.
And then like write a forward in it too. But I got to ask him that favor because I don't know if he's gonna, he doesn't know that that's coming.
Well, just make him listen to the podcast and tell him to fast forward to this amount or this period in it. Timestamp it.
We've kicked that meeting over the past 2 weeks. Now, next week is we're definitely going to do it. So that'll be cool, and I'm real scared about that coming out because there's a lot of work in there that I'm proud of. There's a lot of work in there that people have never seen. There's a lot of me writing just on design and how to balance design and work and life and have it all fit in harmony and not have things just completely glaring and jutting out and crazy. I'm not a good job at doing that.
Well, when it gets ready for release, just give me a shout and I'll be sure to plug it. I'll plug it here in the newsletter for sure for you.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, let's transition into the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
My favorite one out of every question, every show. If you were on death row, what would your last slice of pizza be?
Probably a tomato and basil pizza. I know, it's super simple. Just something fresh.
Make your own or from somewhere local?
It can be from anywhere, man. Pizza's pizza. It doesn't matter where it's from. It can come. It all tastes good.
All right. You turned me on to ginger and whiskeys, but what's your favorite drink of choice? Brand, whatever. It can be even something that you branded yourself.
Yeah, of course. Favorite drink of choice? My brother actually makes the best damn old-fashioned ever. It takes him like 20 minutes to make it, but it's so good. And then he makes this, do you know what an old-fashioned is?
Yeah.
A bourbon drink? Okay. Yeah. And then he makes this drink. It's a mix between an old-fashioned and a Kentucky Mule.
Okay.
The Kentucky Mule is bourbon and
ginger,
yeah.
And lime.
And he calls it my old Kentucky ass because of the mule part. That drink crushes me. So yeah, those are probably my two favorite drinks.
It was ginger and bourbon though, right?
Yeah,
I said whiskey. I said whiskey.
Yeah, no, dude, yeah, it's all good. Ginger and Bullet. Is that what you were drinking?
I think so. I don't know. I was crunk that night.
So good. It was ginger and Bullets are so good.
A script serif or sans serif?
Sans serif all day.
Yeah, I can tell. I'm looking at your bag right behind you. That was a dumb one. All right, what's your favorite typeface?
Dude, honestly, it depends on the project. Right now, I'm smashing Averta real hard. Do you know that one?
Which one?
Averta, Averta.
Mm-mm.
It's
not Lost Type, is it?
Dude, is it Lost Type? No, it's not Lost Type. It's the Design Foundry, or whatever type Design Foundry. I forget what they're called. TDF.
Okay.
I think they're the ones that put it out, and there's just a good family size in there, and they have this extra black that's so thick and so chunky and so good. Yeah, I remember that one.
All right, where can people go to find you online?
Durham Brand Co. DurhamBrandCo.com. Instagram handles the same, Durham Brand Co. There's emails, there's work. You know, it's all over the place, but. I don't know. I think studio floats around.
I'll be linking it up in the show notes too, so people can find
Thanks, bro.
it
Appreciate
easy
it, man.
too. Of course, man. Well, dude, thank you so much. I can't believe we already
likewise
bit through this amount of time this quickly. Thank you for being here. You dropped a ton of wisdom, ton of knowledge, man. I appreciate your time so much.
Thanks, man. It was a good time, and congrats again on the kid. Keep me posted on that baby.
Yeah, I will, man, and we'll link up here soon at Crop.
Beautiful. Looking forward to it.
Austin Dunbar, ladies and gentlemen, and when I first met this dude, I had no idea the caliber of designer and brander and just downright badass human I was dealing with when I first met him at Creative Works. And then seriously, when he got on the stage and dropped his talk, I was like, holy shit, man, like I need to step up my game because this dude absolutely slayed it. Being called out of nowhere last minute to step up on the stage to pop in for someone who canceled, like this dude's always down to put out his best work and continually grinding to become his best self. So shout outs to Austin of Durham Brand Co. Like, you got to check this dude's work out. It's absolutely bananas. Before I forget, you can get 10% off using the code PERSPECTIVE on Austin's web shop. And this thing is just loaded with hats, prints, shirts, sweatshirts, pennants, patches, you name it. It's dope. It's high quality. It's super unique. And you can access this at durhambrandco.com/shop. Again, for 10% off your first purchase using the code PERSPECTIVE. And let's move into this week's dose of inspiration. So this one goes to Christopher Anthony, and bear with me on this one. It's at Mr. Krista_MYL. Like, damn it, Christopher, why you got to make that one hard? It's almost like perspective_collective, no vowels, dude. But this one's spelled MRCHRISTA_MYL. And he popped up on my radar at the end of 2017 as he had this alphabet series, which he combined a gorgeous drop cap, infused it with some insanely detailed illustration, and, you know, it's garnered quite the amount of attention. But aside from that, he's got this unique experimental style, and he doesn't hold back from pushing his limits. Like, each piece just constantly blows me away. I highly recommend checking out his Instagram account. And again, it's at MRCHRISTA_MYL, Mr. Krista_Mil, M-I-L. All right. If you're enjoying what you hear and you want to support the growth of the show, I got 3 ways you can make that happen. The first is by becoming a backer at patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. Not only can you donate per episode with as little as $1, $3, or $5, but I try to hook you up with some type of reward so it's a win-win. And I'm always open for feedback on if there's something you'd want to see as a reward. So I'm not afraid to add to it. The second way to support the show is for you crypto heads out there. I have addresses in the show notes for Bitcoin, Ether, or Litecoin donations if you want to go that route. That would be dope. And finally, you can leave a ratings and review over on iTunes, and you got to leave the review part. It not only helps the show get discovered, but it gives me an opportunity to give you a nice little thank you plug like this week's rating and review. This one comes from Farrells Barkley, aka Austin. Austin titles this one as Consistently Killing It. Simply put, Scotty has been killing it. He's been putting in the work to earn his place at the top. I don't know about if I'm at the top, working on it. And through his podcast has started providing others with the inspiration and tool set to do the same for themselves. Austin, my friend, you have been encouraging me since like day one, not only with just verbal support, but liking, commenting, and supporting my products. And dude, you've been there since the pretty much day one. So thank you so much for everything you've done for me and all the support you've been giving me. I appreciate you, brother. Keep working on that script game and that calligraphy. And finally, as I wrap things up, I want to give a huge thanks to my homegirl, Áine Brennan, all the way from Ireland, for making this episode sound so good, silky, and smooth. And a huge thanks to Nick Jenkins of Blookah for all the dope theme music you hear on the show. Check them out at SoundCloud or at Instagram at Blookah, that's BLOOKAH. And as you finish off your week strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.